Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Perpetual here. If you're new, you are warmly welcome. And guys, thank you all so much for joining me today as we make some beef stew. This is one of my absolute favorite stews to make. I am starting with some boneless beef and I'm just cutting it up into sizable chunks, and we're going to be cleaning it and seasoning it. So after giving it a good rinse or wash, I am adding my seasoning paste. It is ginger, garlic, Scotch bonnet pepper, some anise seeds, a rosemary, and half of a Maggi tablet. And I am adding some salt as well. And I'm gonna cover it up and get it onto the stove to steam. And while that goes on, I'm gonna start prepping my ingredients for the stew. So my first blend is going to be some Scotch bonnet pepper, green bell peppers, garlic, tons of onions, and I'm going to blend this up into a nice smooth paste and set it aside. And then I'm going to blend some fresh tomatoes, and I ended up adding a little bit more rosemary and anise seeds, and I'm going to set that aside. And just checking on the beef at this point, and as you can tell, the beef has rendered off its natural juices. At this point, it is steamed to the point that I like, so I'm going to start frying it. I'm frying it in 2 batches, so I'm just setting the other aside. To speed up my cooking process, I'm going to add a little bit of oil to my stock, and then I'm going to go in with some tomato paste. I'm using about 3 tablespoons of tomato paste in this stew today. I'm going to stir it all together and let this fry for a good 2 to 3 minutes on medium to low heat. And while that goes on, I am frying my beef on the side as well, and I'm going to check on that, get it out when it is nice and golden brown, and then fry the next batch. And then back to my stew. Now that it is cooked down a bit, I am going in with my blended onion, habanero pepper, bell pepper mix, the first mix that we did. Yeah, I'm cooking that down for a good about 10 minutes, and then at this point I'm done frying my beef, so I'm pouring that oil into the stew and mixing it up really well. Next up, I'm adding some fresh tomatoes. Now, the reason why I started the stew ahead of time is just to get rid of some of that cooking time. Because if I waited to finish frying the beef, I would now be starting the stew. And what I just showed there is some tomato sauce. It is not as concentrated as tomato paste, and it is also not as liquid as fresh tomatoes. It definitely adds that rich, bold tomato flavor to the stew. So I used about a cup of that just to enrich the flavors. And now that I have almost everything in my stew base, I'm going to cover it up and let it cook for about 20 minutes until it is nicely done. Now, you do want to check on the stew periodically so that you do not burn it. It is so important, especially if you're using a pot that can burn easily. I absolutely love making a stew like this because it is so versatile. From your wache to your jollof to rice and stew to yam, you can use this. So it is a great start if you're just starting out your meal planning, meal prepping kind of era. Now I need to add some more seasoning. I am adding about a tablespoon of curry powder, and my absolute new favorite seasoning is this sankofa stew mix. I am adding a whole packet in there, and I am adding the half of the Maggi tablet that was left from when I was seasoning the beef. So I'm stirring it in. I'm going to cover it for a few minutes and let it really cook down. When I'm making beef stew, I really like it to cook down a bit more than I would typically cook my chicken stew, just because I like it really concentrated. Then when it's almost done, I go ahead to add my beef and let that simmer for about 15 minutes on very low heat. And then you get the stew kind of infusing into the beef and getting it nice and soft. And then that is it. Our stew is ready. I served it with some plain jasmine rice that I doctored up with a little bit of dried parsley and just some veggies on the side. And guys, it was so delicious. I cannot wait for you to try this recipe out, and I know you'll love it. Thank you all so much for coming along with me on this delicious journey. I will see y'all again very soon. Take care, guys. Bye.